So we're here to talk through some Tight Fit Sudoku. This really clever week from Sircon actually started when he challenged himself to write a classic Tight Fit Sudoku puzzle that would take me a fair amount of time, greater than 4 minutes to solve. He never ended up writing a tight fit that was that hard, but he wrote these variations and they came together quite nicely, and the variations themselves are as difficult or more difficult than that. But for the bonus puzzle this week, I thought I'd try to write a really challenging classic tight fit puzzle, and I took a kind of theme I use a lot in these, which is an odd-only theme. But I embedded some sneaky steps that are probably quite uncommon to see, and if you don't see this exact step, you'll never get through the puzzle. The kind of step to think about is hinted at by two symmetric placements at the start. You can get a 2 up on the top and an 8 down here based on the tight fit rule and needing a smaller digit. And the kind of step to be thinking about is when you have these extreme kinds of values, in this case a low value, in this case a high value, that have to come over to the other side of the grid, you often get locked down to where this only has an option and this only has an option, even though there are in principle 2 spots it can sit. So it's using the tight fit rule to its benefit. This puzzle was built so that the center section has an absolutely critical step to see before you can work through it. And it comes from the fact we have these numbers 5 and 7 that are bracketing 2 larger digits. Let's call them A and B. And this other side has 5, 7 that are bracketing 2 smaller digits. Let's call them, well, we don't know what they are yet, but we'll eventually call them A, B, and we can even mark this as C. This digit that's greater than 7 can't sit in this cell. It can't sit in that cell. It can be an 8 or a 9, but whether it's an 8 or a 9, it's going to sit in this middle spot. This digit that's greater than 5 can't be less than 5, so it has to sit over here. And this digit here fills in the remaining space. How do you get to solving the puzzle? Well, a digit that's greater than 5 and less than 7 is the number 6. So astute solvers will make this break into the puzzle. B being 8 or 9 and C being a digit less than 5 we can't resolve yet, but we'll solve that later in the grid. But after you place these 6s and understand that constraint, you're now really just with a standard kind of puzzle going through and solving as usual. A few sneaky steps along the way, probably the second hardest step, and we'll just get to it earlier in the solve, is to see that this top right cell is a single option. It's a 4. A way I sometimes will get to that is seeing that the 6 and 8 have to sit in these cells, so we have blocked off this as a triple, and we have 1 and 4 left over on that side. Just looking through the middle here, you can see that a 3 goes there. A 1 is in these center cells, comes down to here. A 2 is in these center cells, comes down to here. I have 4, 7, 8 left to place in this column. I have 5, 6 left to place up top. That puts a 4 here. The 4 has to sit in these cells, but can't be in the cell that's greater than 7. So it comes there. Just mark the other info we know over here. Get 9 sitting in one of these cells. We need a 5 down here. Over on this side, this column needs a 2, 3. It looks like this tight fit cell probably now comes into play. It needs a digit less than 5. It can't be 1, it can't be 3, it can't be 4. So it's 2. Now that we've placed this 2, the last 2 is there. Get a 3 up top, get a 3 over here. Remaining digits here, 8 and 9. We already have an 8 down at the bottom. It gives us these. The 8 comes over here. 7, 6, 6 down to the bottom. 4, 5, 4 coming across. That's a 1. Fill out the rest of the space. 5, 5, 6, 6, 9. So this is the classic puzzle. It takes me roughly 4 minutes to solve, but it really was set up by seeing the observation in these 2 middle rows, the row 3 on the left and row 4 on the right, and how you place a 6. With that as a tricky step, we'll jump over to Sircon's killer Sudoku, the Friday puzzle. This puzzle also uses clue symmetry in a really nice way. The most important regions are probably these two in the corners. While they occupy 5 cells, they actually use 8 total digits, including the tight fit cells, which tells us pretty quickly that the digits that are missing from them are 5 and 1. In each case, those missing digits quickly give us placements in the grid. The reason is that one of the remaining digits in these cells has to be the 5. A 5 can't sit here, so 5 will sit here. And you can do a little more with this case of the 1. A 1 can't sit as the other digit in a 13, so 1 sits here. Looking around the grid, 6 is 1 plus 2 plus 3. The 1 now has to sit up top. The last 1 comes over to this cell. We don't know if this is 3 plus 4 or 2 plus 5, but we can track the 1 into one of these cells. And you can pair that with the information from the 5. The 5 isn't in either of these cells. We already know it's not in this big region, so it's not here. And the 5 can't sit here, so you get it, the 5 has to be over there. And that fills out the rest of this 9. 1 plus 3 plus 5 is 9. This 3 will really break open the puzzle. The 3 can't be in a 22 sum. The smallest digit that can be in a 22 sum is a 5. 5 plus 8 plus 9 would work. So the 3 has to come over here. That fills out 1, 3, 4. Put the 4 over here as well. The 5 that remains and finishes this row sits there. Completes this group pretty quickly. The remaining digits in this space are 2 with a 6 and a 7, 6 and a 7. Notice that the 2 digits that sit in these cells end up filling in these cells, which means the 2 can be quickly assigned to be over there. The 6, if this is a 6, it's a 6, or a 7, 7 is paired. A quick way to get that full set is to see that 23 is uniquely 6 plus 8 plus 9, which eliminates all options but the 7 for the bottom cell there. We need to do a little more work up top. We actually, from these placements, know the last spots that those digits can go. The 7 has to come up here and finish out this set as 4 of 6. We have a 5 sitting in this top group. Note that a 4 has to be in one of these cells, but if the 4 joins a top group, you'd have 9 with 1 digit left over. That's not going to work. Now we still have 14 to go. 14 is 6 plus 8, or 5 plus 9, but the 5's already in there, so that's going to be 6 plus 8. Get this done. That actually gives us this digit. And we have 5, 8 left over. The 8 comes down, and we don't know more about that. Let's come over this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9 are going to be in the top. Down here is 6, 7, 8. Not sure more about that. The important place that I saw was to recognize a 2 being in these cells means a 2 isn't down in this cell. A 2 also can't sit in this cell. It would be too small. The only place for a 2 to sit in this row is here. That gives us this 8. The 8 pushes over the cell here, puts an 8 in the cell there. We'll mark in the last of this 6, 9. These 2 cells add up to 15, and they could have been 7 with 8 or 6 with 9 at the start, and 8 already there. Leaves us now just the 6 with the 9. Get 7, 8. The digit that is here has to end up outside of the cage up top, so it sits there. We get a 7 down in the cell. The 4 coming here tells us that the remaining digits here that add up to 5, they're not 1 with 4, they're 2 with 3. And the presence of the 2 forces that 2, forces where the remaining digits go. 3 comes over here, leftovers are 1 with 5. Get a 1 up top, get a 2 over there, get a 3 here. Need to have a 4 with a 9. This is the 4, that's 9, that's 6. Remaining digits 4 with 5, 5 and 3. And we finished this challenging but fun puzzle from Circon. Again, symmetry at the start, how we get the 1 and 5s placed, how we work the 1 across the grid to get this 3, feed this back. That really gets you started, and then I think the critical steps to finish the puzzle are to think about the 2s on the side and recognize in the middle box a 2 can't be in the leftmost or rightmost cell, it sits in column 5. And so again, all the information needed was set up at the start, but you needed to be pretty focused in how you looked at the grid to see the ahas. Hope you learned something about these 2 challenging Tight Fit puzzles as a whole, and hope you enjoyed this week of unique puzzles. We'll see you again soon.